Alright guys, welcome to your next HTML tutorial in CSS. And now that we've covered some pretty basic stuff, text, form, stuff like that, we're going to go into CSS. CSS is the greatest thing ever, or the biggest pile of crap. Really depends on what you're doing. So CSS essentially, if I bring it up, these things here, these username and password fields, we can define all of the properties. Let's inspect the element here for this label, okay? So as you can see, we've obviously got styles further now. We'll actually work off a bit of text first. We'll just write, 2 or 3 headers and some random text in them. So as you can see, we've got our labels. Label, cursor default, event style, blah 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 for inputs. See all these styles? You can define every single property of this in a style sheet. It's great. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to modify our HTML anyway. We're going to get rid of our form, and we're just going to type h1 tag heading 1, put a second h2 tag, or h1 tag, sorry, heading 2. And in between these, we're just going to stick in paragraphs. And I'm actually going to look for default copy. Okay, so I went and got Lorem, I don't even know what the hell it's called, but that funny text. It's that standardized text that's used by web developers and designers and stuff to be dummy text. I think it's Latin. Don't ask me where it comes from, but that's it there, more or less. Get rid of these white spaces. There's an awful lot of it. I'll just bring it all into one line for you. Doesn't matter if you can't see all the text, it's just garbage text. Doesn't matter what the text even is. That's quite a lot of it. And then we'll copy and paste that, and we'll take a look at our page. Okay, so I've got our text. We just got random gibberish, blah 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 blah. So the first thing we're going to do with the style sheet is there's 3 ways you can add styles to an element. There's external style sheets, internal style tags, and then inline styling. So we'll go through those first. The first one we're going to handle is internal style tags. So generally these are put sometimes in the head of the document, sometimes in the body. It doesn't really matter where. We're going to stick ours in the head. So let's put it in the head. Okay, so inside the head, not between the head and the body. You can define multiples of these if you need to. So there's our style tag. Now, how do we actually link? So let's say we want to change the heading's font size, for example. If we go into this and we right click, inspect element, it tells us our font size is 2 enumerations. So we're going to change that to be 1.5. So how do we link a style tag, or a style is? Well, the syntax for a style is your qualifier. So right out here, your rule, or your rule. Your rules go in there, and then your qualifier. Now, I don't think that's what they're actually called, but that's the way I remember it. Qualifier and rules. So, what qualifiers are there, or what way can you apply them? You can apply them using a couple of methods. You can use, there's 4 major methods I remember as tags, or the tag name, IDs, classes, and then with pseudo classes. We'll explain those later on. They're more complicated. But if we want to change all the h1 tags that this style uses, we simply type in h1, and then in here we add our rules. So rules, in order to style text, we can say font family is 1. Generally for text it's font for changing the appearance of text, and generally for the positioning of text it's text, so text decoration, text align. Anyway, so font size 1.5 EM, and end it with a semicolon. That's the syntax of a rule, the name of the rule you want to change, and its value. So let's refresh our page. And the headings have shrunk. Brilliant. So let's change our P and we'll add a bit of colour. So in order to change the colour of text, it's just colour. American spelling, not EU spelling. Kind of annoys me, but I'll deal with it. And we'll change the colour. We'll use a hash code. Well, I call them hash code. I make up names for everything in my head. Don't ask me. We're going to use a colour code. We'll change them to be a dark blue colour. So we'll say 0000 O's FF. That's dark blue. And the text has turned blue. Now you can modify everything. You can even do positioning in somewhat. I'll get into how HTML, CSS sort of intermingle with positioning. Like you can tell things to wrap a certain way. It's confusing. CSS can be crazy. But that's basically how you apply rules to that. Now, okay, that's cool and all, yeah. What's inline styling? Inline styling is when you put it in the tag itself. So let's say we want this H1 tag here, okay? Let's say we want this one to be small and this one to be big. Well, how do we do it? There's a couple of ways we can manage it. I'm going to show you what inline styling does now. And it also explains how cascading works as well, like cascading style sheets. We'll get into this. So how do we define a style inline? Well, you say style equals, and then we say font size two enumerations semicolon, and the second one becomes bigger. Now here's a problem. We've got a conflict of rules. We've got this one is applying this font size rule to every single H1 tag in the document, but this one is only, that's telling them to make it 1.5 size, but this one here is telling us to make them 2. So how does the browser know which one to work or which one to apply? Well, that's where cascading comes in. Cascading means that the newest, or the further down the hierarchy you go of styles, that's the one that's applied. So they apply in a certain order, and the order goes external style sheets, style tags, inline styling. So this is a style tag and this is inline styles. So this one will override this one, and that's essentially how it works, or how styling works. If you don't get it, play around with it, you'll understand it soon enough, but you can override the styles down along. This is very useful because it allows you to, let's say, have a generalized heading tag. So you could have all your H1 tags look a certain way with a nice font, certain color, certain font weight, define it, padding, margins, all that, do all that cool stuff. Then you would, let's say you want a certain H1 tag needs to be smaller. Well, then you'd override that with an inline style or somewhere else. You can also override in the same sheet. We'll get into index and or IDs and classes in the next video, but the order of which the styles are applied is like, you know, it goes down through the external style sheet, then down through the style tags, then through the inline styles. So that's how cascading works. We'll get more and more into this, but the last thing I want to do in this video anyway is show you how to link an external style sheet. So we're going to need to create a new file, and we're going to save as, and we're going to call this css.css. Okay, so this is a style sheet. Type in, we'll actually move stuff out of the style tag in here. Okay, I actually didn't save that correctly. I have to save that as all files. We'll delete that nonsense. Okay, for some reason it's gone wonky. I'll fix this now in a sec. Okay, so it hasn't actually gone wonky, it just looks that way. Anyway, sure, we'll just move these in. There are style rules. So if we do that, we'll notice the styles will go back to the way they were. because we haven't told the browser where our style sheet is, and it's a very simple thing to do. In the head of your document, you link your style sheet, so you type in link href, so hypertext reference, CSS, rel, so what type, what is it? It's a style sheet, and it's type, the meme type of the thing. It's actually text, CSS. So that will link the style sheet to your HTML file, and they have to be in the same folder for this to work. And as you can see, it works again. The reason they have to be in the same folder is this. This is essentially saying, look in the same folder for a CSS file called CSS. That's essentially what it's doing. It's looking for that CSS file. You have to have them in the same folder or this won't work. I'll show you how to navigate up and down stacks of folders and stuff like that with relative links, root relative and stuff like that. We'll be doing more of that when we get to PHP, which I'll be starting soon. But anyway, that's how you apply basic styles. We're going to do a bit more modifying of cascading styles, but we'll do text-based styles next. So anyway guys, as always, subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.